What happens when two of television's most outspoken women find themselves on opposite sides of a conversation that spirals completely out of control? The answer is messier, more uncomfortable, and more explosive than anyone could have predicted. Kelly Clarkson, known for her warmth and relatability, found herself in a heated exchange with Joy Behar that left the studio audience in stunned silence and producers scrambling. Before we get into exactly what was said and how this all unraveled, make sure you subscribe to this channel and drop a comment below telling us whose side you're on in this whole situation. Trust me, you're going to have opinions. The setup seemed innocent enough. Joy Behar was scheduled as a guest on The Kelly Clarkson Show, promoting her latest book and presumably engaging in the kind of lighthearted banter that both women are known for. The segment was supposed to be fun, maybe a little sassy, but ultimately harmless. That's not what happened. From the moment Joy walked onto the stage, there was an energy that felt different. Kelly greeted her with her signature enthusiasm, hugging Joy and complimenting her outfit, but Joy's response was lukewarm at best. She smiled, but it was tight, controlled. The kind of smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes. They settled into their seats, and Kelly launched into her first question, asking Joy about the inspiration behind her new book. Joy's answer was fine, professional, hitting all the talking points her publicist probably prepped her on. But then Kelly made a comment, something playful about how Joy always seems to have an opinion on everything, and how that must make for interesting dinner parties. It was meant to be a compliment, an acknowledgement of Joy's sharp wit and willingness to speak her mind. Joy didn't take it that way. "Well, Kelly," Joy said, her tone shifting slightly, "I think having opinions is important, especially when you have a platform. Some people use their platforms to say something meaningful, others just sing and smile and hope everyone likes them." The audience laughed, but it was nervous laughter. Kelly's smile faltered for just a fraction of a second before she recovered. "I mean, I'd like to think I do a little bit of both," Kelly said, keeping her voice light. "I talk about things that matter to me, mental health, body positivity, supporting other women." Joy leaned back in her chair, crossing her legs. Sure, safe topics, things that everyone can agree on. But what about the hard stuff, Kelly? What about politics, policy, the things that actually affect people's lives? Kelly's expression tightened. "I talk about what I'm knowledgeable about and what feels authentic to me. I don't think there's anything wrong with that." "There's nothing wrong with it," Joy replied, "but there's nothing particularly brave about it either." The air in the studio shifted. You could feel it, this sudden tension that made everyone sit up a little straighter. Kelly blinked, processing what had just been said. The band members exchanged glances. The audience was silent now, unsure if this was part of some bit they weren't in on. Kelly took a breath, and when she spoke again, her voice was measured, but firm. "Joy, I've been very open about my struggles, my divorce, raising my kids in the public eye. I've talked about things that were deeply personal and painful, because I thought it might help someone else going through the same thing. I don't think that's not brave." Joy waved a hand dismissively. "Personal stuff? Yes. We all have personal stuff. I'm talking about taking a stand, Kelly, using your voice when it might actually cost you something. When was the last time you said something that made half your audience uncomfortable?" Kelly's jaw tightened. "I'm not trying to make people uncomfortable, Joy. I'm trying to create a space where people feel seen and heard, and maybe a little bit lighter than when they started their day." "How noble," Joy said, and there was no mistaking the sarcasm now. Meanwhile, the world is burning, and Kelly Clarkson is over here doing feel-good segments about rescue dogs and cake recipes. Kelly's eyes flashed. "You know what, Joy? Not everything has to be a battle. Not every conversation has to be a debate. Some of us actually think there's value in giving people a break from all the negativity and anger." "A break," Joy repeated, shaking her head. "That's a luxury, Kelly. That's a privilege. Some people don't get to take a break from reality just because it's unpleasant." "Don't you dare lecture me about privilege," Kelly shot back, her voice rising now. "You sit on a show every single day where you get to pontificate about whatever you want to whoever will listen. And half the time, you're just stirring the pot for ratings. At least, I'm actually trying to help people, instead of just making them more angry and divided." The audience gasped. This was no longer uncomfortable. It was a full-blown confrontation, and no one knew how to react. Joy's face flushed, her eyes narrowing. "Stirring the pot," Joy said, her voice sharp. I'm informing people, Kelly. I'm holding people accountable. I'm not afraid to call out hypocrisy and injustice, even when it's unpopular. That's called journalism, not entertainment. You're on a talk show, Joy, not 60 Minutes, Kelly fired back. And let's be honest, you're not some crusader for truth. You have your opinions, and anyone who disagrees with you is an idiot in your eyes. That's not journalism, that's ego. Joy stood up, and for a moment it looked like she might actually walk off the set, but she didn't. Instead, she pointed a finger at Kelly, her voice shaking with anger. You want to know what ego is? Ego is thinking that you can just stay neutral on everything and everybody will love you. Ego is believing that your little bubble of positivity matters more than actually engaging with the real world. Kelly stood up too, facing Joy directly. My bubble of positivity, as you call it, has helped millions of people feel less alone. What have you done besides make people feel like they have to pick a side on every single issue or else they're part of the problem? Maybe they are part of the problem, Joy snapped. Silence is complicity, Kelly. If you're not speaking out, you're enabling. That's such garbage, Kelly said, her voice loud and clear. You don't get to dictate how everyone uses their voice. You don't get to decide that your way is the only right way. I'm so tired of people like you acting like anyone who doesn't perform their values the exact way you want them to is somehow morally inferior. Joy laughed, but it was bitter. People like me. You mean people who actually give a damn about something other than selling records and booking celebrity guests? Kelly's face went red. Get off my stage. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Joy stared at Kelly, shocked. The audience was frozen. Even the crew seemed paralyzed, cameras still rolling, capturing every second of this unraveling disaster. Excuse me, Joy said, her voice dangerously quiet. You heard me, Kelly said, not backing down. This is my show, and I'm not going to stand here and let you insult me and everything I've built. You came here as a guest, and you've done nothing but attack me from the moment you sat down. Joy's expression shifted from shock to something closer to defiance, her posture straightening as she processed what Kelly had just said. The studio remained deathly quiet, the kind of silence that feels heavy and suffocating. Kelly stood her ground, her chest rising and falling with controlled breaths, clearly trying to maintain her composure even as her anger simmered just beneath the surface. You're really going to kick me off your show? Joy said slowly, enunciating each word with precision. Because I had the audacity to challenge you. Because I didn't just sit here and play along with your carefully curated image. Kelly crossed her arms. No. Joy, I'm asking you to leave because you came onto my show and decided to use it as a platform to belittle me and everything I do. You could have had a conversation. You could have disagreed respectfully. Instead, you chose to be condescending and dismissive, and I don't have to tolerate that. Joy let out a sharp laugh, shaking her head in disbelief. This is unbelievable. You talk all the time about supporting women, about lifting each other up. But the second someone doesn't worship at the altar of Kelly Clarkson, you throw them out. Real supportive, Kelly. Supporting women doesn't mean letting them walk all over me. Kelly shot back immediately. It doesn't mean I have to smile and nod while you tear me down in front of my audience. You want to talk about hypocrisy? Look in the mirror, Joy. You preach tolerance and open dialogue, but only when people agree with you. Joy took a step closer, her voice rising. I came here to have a real conversation, Kelly, a conversation with substance. But you can't handle that, can you? You can't handle anyone disrupting your perfect little world where everything is sunshine and rainbows and we all just pretend that nothing bad is happening. That is not what I do, Kelly said through gritted teeth. I acknowledge hard things. I talk about depression, anxiety, divorce, loss. I've cried on this stage more times than I can count. But I also believe there's power in hope, in finding joy even when things are difficult. If that makes me shallow in your eyes, then I guess we just fundamentally disagree about what matters. What matters, Joy said, her voice dripping with sarcasm, is being honest. What matters is not hiding behind vague platitudes about kindness and positivity. When there are real issues that need to be addressed, you have millions of people watching you every single day, Kelly, and you waste that opportunity on fluff. Kelly's eyes blazed. My show is not a waste. The people who watch, the people who write to me, who tell me that something I said helped them get through a hard day, they don't think it's a waste. And honestly, Joy, I don't care what you think. I really don't. You're so convinced that your way is the only way. That if someone isn't angry and combative all the time, they're not making a difference. That's your issue, not mine. My issue, Joy said, her voice getting louder, is that people like you get a pass. You get to be beloved and uncontroversial because you never actually say anything that matters. You never take a risk. And then you act like you're doing something noble by staying out of it. I take risks every single day, Kelly countered, her voice shaking now with emotion. I risk being vulnerable. I risk showing people the messy, imperfect parts of my life. I risk being judged for my choices, my parenting, my relationships. Just because I'm not on television screaming about politics doesn't mean I'm not taking risks, Joy scoffed. Vulnerability is a brand now, Kelly. Everyone's vulnerable. Everyone's authentic. It means nothing if you're not actually standing for something. I stand for plenty, Kelly said firmly. I stand for treating people with decency. I stand for not making assumptions about people based on one aspect of their life. I stand for the idea that we can disagree without being cruel. Apparently, those aren't values you share. Joy's face flushed deeper, her hands gesturing wildly now. Oh, please, spare me the sanctimonious speech. You're not some beacon of decency, Kelly. You're a brand. You're a product. Everything you do is calculated to make sure you don't lose a single viewer or a single dollar. That's not integrity. That's cowardice. The word hung in the air like a slap. Kelly's expression went cold, her voice dropping to a dangerous calm. You don't know anything about me. You don't know what I've been through or what I stand for when the cameras aren't rolling. You come on here with your assumptions and your judgments, and you think that makes you superior. It doesn't. It just makes you mean. Mean? Joy repeated, laughing incredulously. I mean for telling you the truth. I mean for pointing out that you're wasting your platform. You're mean for thinking that your truth is the only truth, Kelly said, her voice steady but filled with intensity. You're mean for dismissing everything I do just because it doesn't fit your narrow definition of what's important. And you're mean for coming onto my show, into my space, and attacking me personally instead of just having a normal conversation. Joy threw her hands up. A normal conversation. You want a normal conversation? Fine, let's have one. Tell me, Kelly, what do you actually believe? What are you actually willing to fight for? Not some generic answer about kindness or whatever. Something real, something specific. Kelly stared at her for a long moment, her jaw working as she considered her response. When she spoke, her voice was controlled but fierce. I believe that people are doing the best they can with what they have. I believe that shaming people and making them feel small doesn't change their minds, it just makes them defensive. I believe that there's more than one way to make a difference in the world, and that not everyone has to do it your way. And I believe that you can be passionate about things without making everyone around you miserable. Those are my beliefs, Joy, and I'm not going to apologize for them. Joy shook her head slowly, a bitter smile on her face. That's exactly what I thought you'd say. A whole lot of nothing dressed up as wisdom. Kelly's patience finally snapped completely. You know what, Joy? I tried. I really tried to have a respectful conversation with you. I tried to explain my perspective, to engage with you like an adult. But you're not interested in that. You're interested in being right, in proving that you're smarter and more enlightened than everyone else. And I'm done with this conversation, and I'm done with you. Joy's eyes widened slightly, but she quickly composed herself. So that's it. You're really going to end this by proving my point, by shutting down anyone who challenges you. I'm ending this, Kelly said, her voice rising again. Because this stopped being a challenge about 5 minutes after you sat down. This became an attack, and I don't owe you a platform to attack me. Joy grabbed her purse from beside the chair, her movements sharp and angry. Fine, Kelly. I'll leave your precious show. But when people see this, when they see how you react to any kind of pushback, they're going to know exactly who you really are. Good, Kelly said without hesitation. I hope they do. I hope they see that I'm someone who won't be bullied or belittled. I hope they see that I have boundaries, and I'm willing to enforce them. And I hope they see that you came here looking for a fight, and you got one. Joy turned to walk toward the exit, but then she stopped, turning back to face Kelly one more time. You're going to regret this. Kelly didn't flinch. The only thing I regret is inviting you here in the first place. The air between them crackled with tension, neither woman willing to break eye contact first. Joy stood there, her purse clutched in her hand, her expression a mixture of anger and something that might have been hurt, though she'd never admit it. Kelly remained rooted in place, her arms still crossed, her face flushed, but her posture resolute. The audience sat frozen, some with their hands covering their mouths, others leaning forward in their seats as if watching a car crash in slow motion. Joy finally spoke, her voice lower now but no less cutting. "You know what's really sad about all of this, Kelly? You had a chance to actually engage in something meaningful today. We could have had a real discussion about the responsibility that comes with influence, about the choices we make as public figures. But instead, you made it personal. You made it about your ego." Kelly's laugh was sharp and humorless. "I made it personal. Joy, you've been attacking me personally since you walked out here. Every single thing you've said has been a criticism of who I am, how I run my show, what I choose to talk about. You didn't come here to have a discussion. You came here to lecture me. And when I didn't just sit here and take it, you act like I'm the problem. Because you are the problem," Joy insisted. Taking a step back toward Kelly, "You and everyone like you who thinks that staying neutral is somehow noble. The world doesn't need more neutral. It needs people who are willing to take a stand, even when it's uncomfortable." Kelly uncrossed her arms, her hands gesturing emphatically as she spoke. "And who decides what standing up looks like? Joy, you? Do you get to be the arbiter of what's acceptable and what's not? Because from where I'm standing, you don't get to tell me or anyone else how to use their voice. You don't get to determine what's worthy of discussion and what's not." Joy's voice rose again, frustration bleeding through every word. "Someone has to, Kelly. Someone has to be willing to call out the performative nonsense that passes for activism these days. Someone has to be willing to say that thoughts and prayers and feel-good messages aren't enough. And someone has to be willing to meet people where they are." Kelly fired back immediately. "Someone has to be willing to acknowledge that not everyone is ready for your brand of confrontation. Not everyone learns or grows from being yelled at or shamed. Some people need compassion first. Some people need to feel safe before they can be challenged. But you don't care about that, do you? You just care about being right." Joy pointed at Kelly, her fingers shaking slightly. "I care about the truth, Kelly. I care about not letting people hide behind empty words while the world falls apart around us. And if that makes me unpopular, if that makes me the bad guy in your eyes, then so be it. At least I'm honest about what I believe." "So am I," Kelly said, her voice breaking slightly with emotion. "I'm honest every single day. I share my failures, my insecurities, my struggles. I let people see me at my worst because I think there's value in that kind of honesty. But it's never enough for people like you, is it? Because it's not the right kind of honesty. It's not political enough. It's not controversial enough. It's just human, and apparently that's not good enough." Joy shook her head, her expression hardening. "Human is fine, Kelly. Human is great. But human doesn't absolve you of responsibility. You have a platform, whether you like it or not, and with that platform comes an obligation to do more than just make people feel good." "Says who?" Kelly demanded, her voice cracking with frustration. "Who made that rule? Who decided that having a television show means I have to align with your specific vision of what's important? I didn't sign up for that, Joy. I signed up to connect with people, to entertain them, to maybe inspire them if I'm lucky. That's what I do, and I'm proud of it." Joy's voice dripped with disdain. "Of course you're proud of it. It's easy. It's safe. You never have to worry about losing sponsors or getting hate mail, because you never say anything that might offend anyone. Must be nice, living in that bubble." Kelly's eyes filled with tears, but her voice remained strong. "You think I don't get hate mail? You think I don't get criticized constantly? I get it all the time. Joy. People tell me I'm too much, not enough, too emotional, not serious enough. I get death threats. I get horrible comments about my body, my parenting, my personal life. So don't stand there and act like I'm somehow protected from all of that because I choose to focus on the positive." Joy faltered slightly, but recovered quickly. "That's not the same thing, and you know it." "It's exactly the same thing," Kelly insisted, wiping at her eyes angrily. "It's all judgment. It's all people deciding that they know better than I do about how I should live my life and do my job. The only difference is that you think your judgment is righteous." Joy's expression softened for just a moment, a flicker of something that might have been understanding crossing her face. But then it was gone, replaced by that same stubborn conviction. I think there are things worth fighting for, Kelly. I think there are injustices that can't be solved with a smile and a pep talk. And I think that people with your kind of reach have a responsibility to acknowledge that. Kelly took a deep breath, composing herself. And I think that responsibility looks different for different people. You want to fight, you fight. That's your way. But my way is to create a space where people can breathe, where they can remember what's good in their lives, even when everything feels heavy. That matters too. Joy? It might not matter to you, but it matters to the people who need it. Joy studied Kelly for a long moment, her expression unreadable. When she spoke, her voice was quieter but still firm. I hope you're right, Kelly. I really do. I hope that what you're doing is enough. But I don't think it is. Kelly nodded slowly, her own voice soft now. And I hope that someday you realize that there's more than one way to make a difference. That maybe judgment and anger aren't the only tools we have. But I don't think you will. They stood there, two women who had somehow managed to expose every raw nerve between them in the span of a few minutes. The silence stretched out, uncomfortable and heavy, until Joy finally turned away. Goodbye. Kelly, she said without looking back. Goodbye, Joy, Kelly replied, watching as Joy walked toward the exit. The moment Joy disappeared through the doorway, Kelly's shoulders sagged slightly, the adrenaline clearly beginning to drain from her body. She turned to face her audience, many of whom looked shell-shocked, unsure whether they should applaud or remain silent. Kelly cleared her throat, attempting a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Well, that was not how I expected this interview to go, she said, and a few nervous laughs rippled through the crowd. I think we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have someone who's going to teach us how to make the perfect autumn wreath, which sounds really good right about now. As the cameras cut and the commercial break began, Kelly walked off the stage, her hand pressed to her forehead, leaving everyone to process what they had just witnessed. The confrontation had exposed something raw and real. A clash not just between two personalities, but between two completely different philosophies about what it means to use your voice in a public space. If you made it this far, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below. Here's my question for you. Do you think Kelly was right to ask Joy to leave her show? Or should she have let the conversation continue? Let me know what you think, because this one is going to be debated for a long time.